He did not tell Lily that night. She was at the car door before he had fully stopped, the way she always was, as if the school day compressed itself into something she was constantly slightly ahead of. She was talking before she sat down, something about a disagreement that had been resolved, something about Mrs. Calloway revising her ruling on the game after new evidence had been presented, which Lily described as justice, though Marcus suspected it was just Mrs. Calloway choosing her battles wisely on a Thursday afternoon. He drove. He listened. He asked the questions that showed he was listening. She did not notice that he was quieter than usual, because Lily in Motion required very little conversational input from him. She provided most of the structure herself, branching from one subject to the next with the associative logic of a very engaged 8-year-old mind. And he had learned long ago that the best thing he could do in these car rides was stay present and let her talk. He was present. He was also somewhere else, partially, in the way that a person can be in two places at once when one of the places is a decision that has not been made yet. He made pasta for dinner again. He did it without registering the repetition until Lily said, between bites, that they had pasta on Monday too, and he said yes they did, and she considered this for a moment, and then said that was fine. She liked pasta. He said good. She went back to eating. After dinner and homework and the extended negotiation that was bedtime, after the questions that were not really questions but postponements, and the glass of water, and the specific arrangement of 3 pillows that had to be achieved before sleep was apparently possible, Marcus sat at the kitchen table in the quiet of the apartment and opened the folder from the 34th floor. He read everything in it again, every line. The responsibilities, the reporting structure, the timeline, the compensation. He read the section on the supply network integration 3 times, because it was the most technically complex portion, and he wanted to be sure he understood, not just what it said, but what it would require of him in practice. He understood it. He got up and made a cup of tea and stood at the kitchen window while the kettle cooled and looked at the street below, where a man was walking a very large dog that appeared to be walking the man more accurately than the reverse, and a couple was coming out of the building across the way, and one of them was laughing about something. The night was ordinary, in all the ways that nights were ordinary, the city doing its continuous low-level work of just continuing. He went back to the table. He picked up his phone. He called his mother. She answered on the 3rd ring, which was her standard. She never answered immediately, because she was always doing something. Reading, gardening in the small courtyard of her flat, watching a program she would describe in extensive detail, even when he had not asked. Tonight she was watching something about birds, which she had recently become interested in, and she told him briefly about the species that had appeared in her garden that morning before registering his tone. She said, "What happened?" He told her, all of it. The acquisition, the job loss, the gala, the 2-hour conversation, the email, the meeting on the 34th floor, the folder on the table in front of him. He told it in order, without editorializing, the way he told things when he was trying to understand them by saying them out loud. His mother was quiet through most of it. She was good at that. She had raised him largely alone after his father left when Marcus was 11, and she had learned early that children who were processing something needed more space than commentary. When he finished, she said, "So what is the question?" He said, "Whether I should take it." She said, "Is there a version of this story where you don't?" He thought about it. He said, "I keep looking for one." She said, "And?" He said, "I can't find it." She said that sounded like an answer, and that she was going back to her bird program, and that he should tell Lily to call her this weekend. He said he would. She said goodnight. He said goodnight. He sat with the phone in his hand for a moment after the call ended. Then he picked up his pen, a real pen, not his phone, and wrote on the top of a blank page of the folder, "What would I need to feel ready?" And then, below it, he listed everything. The school schedule, the travel logistics, the support structure the company had said it provided. Ruth next door, who was 71 and retired, and had said, more than once, that Lily was welcome any time and she meant it. His mother, 2 hours away, who would come if he asked. The work itself, which was something he already knew how to do, simply at a scale he had not yet been given. He looked at the list. Every item had an answer. Not a perfect answer, not a frictionless answer, but an actual answer that was real and workable, and not built on wishful thinking. He folded the page and put it in the folder. He emailed Priya Menon at 10:53 that evening. He said that he had considered the offer carefully and that he would like to accept the position if it remained available. He said he appreciated the time he had been given to think. He said he looked forward to what came next. He read it over. He sent it. He sat for a moment after. Then he went and looked in on Lily. She was the way she always was, arm thrown out, hair everywhere, completely at ease with being asleep in the way she was at ease with most things. He stood in the doorway and looked at her for a while. The room had a low nightlight that made everything slightly gold. Her drawings were on the desk by the window. Horses. Always horses. A whole collection of them in different sizes and positions. Patient, and long-legged, and wise in the way she drew them. He thought about Diane Osei, watching a ballroom full of people who navigated around her without stopping. He thought about crossing the room and crouching down. He thought about how the decision to do that had taken about 12 seconds and had not felt like a decision at all, just the next obvious thing, and how that 12-second obvious thing had, through a sequence he could not have predicted or planned or manufactured, led to an 8-year-old girl in the next room being a little more secure than she had been at the beginning of the week. He went to bed. He told Lily on Saturday morning. Not at the table, not as an announcement. He told her on the sofa, where they spent Saturday morning slowly, Lily usually with a drawing pad, and Marcus with his coffee. The television on low to a nature channel that he put on because his mother had made him feel that birds were perhaps worth attending to. Lily was in the middle of a horse. A new one, slightly different from the others, this one mid-run. He said, "I have some news about work." She looked up. He could see the calculation in her face. She was 8, but she was sharp, and she had been 8 for almost a year, long enough to understand that news about work could mean different things. He told her about losing his old job first. He told it plainly, without dressing it up, because she would be upset if she found out later that he had softened it past the point of honesty. He said his position at Ardent was being eliminated, and that this had happened on Monday, and that he had not told her right away, because he was still figuring out what came next. She said, "Are we okay?" He said, "Yes, let me finish." She listened. He told her about the new job. He told her that a woman he had met at the fancy gala, the one Lily had known about from the invitation on the counter, had offered him a much bigger position at the company that had acquired Ardent. He explained what the job was in terms that were honest but not so technical that they became something she would need to manage. He said it would mean he traveled sometimes. He said he had already thought through the plan for when he did. He said Ruth next door was part of the plan, and that Grandma could come when she needed to. Lily said, "What woman?" He said, "Her name is Diane." Lily said, "From the gala?" He said, "Yes." Lily said, "The one you had dinner with?" He said, "Yes." She considered this with the expression she used when she was building a complete picture from partial information, which was an expression she had inherited directly from him, and which he found it slightly startling to see on her face. She said, "So she gave you a job because you talked to her at the party?" He said it was more complicated than that, but that was essentially part of it. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I told you the shirt looked fine." He laughed. He laughed properly, fully, the kind of laugh that catches a person off guard and runs for a moment before it settles. Lily went back to her horse drawing with the satisfied expression of someone who had made a correct prediction and was letting it stand without further comment. He drank his coffee. The morning was quiet around them. The birds on the television were doing something in slow motion over a large body of water, narrated by a calm voice that seemed unbothered by anything. Gary the goldfish was in his tank on the shelf across the room, moving slowly but moving, which Marcus had checked carefully that morning and which represented an improvement. The good food was working, or working enough for now. Marcus looked at his daughter drawing her horse. He thought about something Diane had said on the 34th floor, that she needed people who could walk into a complicated room and find the thing that mattered without being told where to look. He thought about that, and looked at Lily. She had her tongue slightly between her teeth when she drew, which was a concentration habit she had had since she first picked up a crayon. She was working on the horse's legs now, the difficult part, the part that required the most adjustment, because horses' legs were not forgiving of approximation. They had to be exactly right, or they collapsed the whole image. She was getting them right. He thought about how much of a life was assembled from the things nobody watched you do. The way you treated a person when there was nothing in it for you. The way you told the truth to an 8-year-old who deserved the truth even when it was complicated. The way you crossed a room because someone was sitting alone and it was simply the next obvious thing. He did not say any of this out loud. There was no version of saying it that would improve on the quiet of the sofa and the birds on television and Lily drawing her horse. He asked if she wanted eggs for breakfast. She said yes, but not the runny kind. He went to the kitchen and made eggs, not the runny kind, with toast on the side. He put both plates on the low table in front of the sofa. They ate. The birds on the television completed whatever they had been doing, and the narration moved to a different species, one that appeared to live very high up and was entirely unbothered by this. Lily finished her eggs and picked up the drawing pad again. She said, without looking up, "Dad." He said, "Yeah." She said, "The new job is a good one, right?" He said, "I think so." She said, "Do you think it's good? Or do you actually know?" He thought about it. He thought about the role description, and his mother, and the folder, and the list he had written, and the 12 seconds on the other side of a ballroom that had produced, through an entirely unplanned sequence of events, a Thursday morning on the 34th floor, where a woman had told him that the thing he had done had mattered. He said, "I actually know." She nodded. She kept drawing. He watched her for a moment. Then he picked up his coffee and looked out the window at the morning, which was ordinary and good, and thought about the week ahead, the call with Priya Menon on Monday, to go through the onboarding process, the new floor he would learn to navigate, the work that was already there waiting for him, the 3 supply networks that needed someone to see what they needed, without being told where to look. He was ready for all of it. He was ready in the way that people are ready when they have spent years doing the right things in small rooms for no particular audience. And the only surprise left is discovering that being seen was never the point, but that the world had been watching anyway, filing things away, waiting for the right Thursday morning to show them what it adds up to. Outside, the city was going about its business. Up the street, a woman was walking with her child. Across the way, a shop was opening for the day. A man in a blue apron flipping the sign in the door from closed to open. Lily was drawing. Marcus finished his coffee. He got up and washed the plates, because the day was starting, and starting was what days were for.